Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The fate of women always suffers many bitter disadvantages. People in the countryside are even more disadvantaged, and not everyone is lucky and strong enough to escape the hardships of life. Because they are still bound by many of the following social rules and ethics, we would like to send you the story of women's destiny, a story about a woman with many bitterness in the end. But life has led her to fall into an illicit relationship. Where will her life go? Please listen together. Nam also heard the exchange of words when she went to the market or through village. But then she ignored all those rumors. She chose to let it go and ignore it. Her tongue saw that there was one person, what they said about her. In her heart, no one knew what was in her heart. There's a pain in my heart that I can't confide in anyone, but as a girl from the countryside, I don't have any education, but all year round I only stick to a few rice fields and hang around with my flock of dirty-legged chickens. The poor girl who sold her face to the earth and her back to the sky is known as a married woman, but she doesn't enjoy that blessing. Her husband, since he married her, has 2 children, a boy and girl, because of 2 marriages. He quickly came home on that rainy and windy night. He threw her away. Then he went away again after having children. He rarely returned home, and the children at home were thrown away without taking care of them. Once there were no grandparents, her 2 children would not be human anymore. Moreover, he was still stuck with the fate of being a prostitute and had to contribute everything for her, so she could not rely on her for much. In this neighborhood, her family is listed as a poor household because her family is truly poor. Her husband's parents have 2 sons, and the eldest brother and his wife are economically well off. Their house is stable, while her husband and his wife are poor. Still living in a shabby 4-level house built in 1993, she has just saved up a little money and the government has provided some support, so she intends to build a small house as a place to go in and out for her parents. Her children also feel secure when the rainy and stormy season comes. For that reason, this time she wants to find a construction team help her renovate the house. Hello, may I ask if this is the team? Is Mr. Hung's builder? Yes, is there anything? I just came to ask him about something. I'm preparing to build a house, so I want find team of workers. Wait a minute, let me call him. Just after finishing speaking, Hung slowly walked out and asked, what's going on, Mr. Lamb, this girl is looking for you. She said, I'm a construction team to build a house or something. Here, go in and talk to him. Hello everyone, in Doi village I'm planning to build a small house live in temporarily. My doctor introduced me as a highly skilled and careful person, so I came to your place today to see how it goes. What kind of house are you planning to build? Why don't ask the construction team from that village to come closer you instead of running all the way here? Yes, I'm only planning to build a 4-level house, but to be honest with you, my family is also in difficulty, so we don't have enough conditions to build a big house like that. My village is in Thuong, everyone busy. I heard that you will complete this house next week, so I just asked you. Why don't you leave your phone number? I'll come tomorrow to survey and discuss the details later. When she received Hung's appointment to come survey the house in afternoon, even though she was working fields, Nung still left it there to welcome the contractor, who circled around the house and immediately presented it from start to finish, saying if it was completed, 150 million won't be enough for everything. No matter how simple it is, it won't be enough. Yes, please help. My family only has that amount. But the house is about to collapse. If we don't do it, it won't work. I'll try. Please help me calculate if there is a shortage. I will probably have to borrow money. It's very miserable without a man. He looked at Nung from head to toe and asked, oh, where is your husband? Why don't you let me discuss these things? If someone else does it, why do you have to look for me? I'm not hiding anything, whether you have a husband or not, my husband or not. My husband, he works outside of Mongkai. It's been a long time since I've able to visit my wife and children even once, but how can I help my mother? It's not like she has a child and still the problem of being prostitute. Hearing that, he glanced at her again, his face looking inquisitive, showing satisfaction with such a beautiful wife and a girlfriend. It's truly a waste of heaven. In fact, from the time her father gave birth to mother until now, she has not heard any compliments. So when she heard him say that, she also felt a little excited in her heart. She spent all day hanging around the vast garden. I've never collided with anyone, but today it's natural. He compliments me and doesn't like the novelty. Yes, I keep saying that. I'm not beautiful. There's nothing for Cam, there is beautiful beauty queens. I'm a country girl. Am I? Then my husband. He's the one who's criticizing me. He laughed nervously as he said that if you try to fix someone, you're the only one who criticizes, then another guy wants to look at you if keep being so flirtatious like this, otherwise it would be a waste of drinks. Hearing him say that, but I don't know, it's a joke. It's true, but her tanned cheeks naturally turn pink. She looks like an 18 or 20-year-old girl. Honestly, Nahung is also a pretty beautiful girl. God didn't give her white skin. But instead, there was a healthy, shiny Da Nang skin and a busty figure. Although her arms and legs were a bit rough because of farming, her figure was as beautiful it was. That's why his eyes became passionate. He's a famous guy in the neighboring village and he's having affairs. He's famous in all the upper and lower villages. People even speculate that he has an illegitimate child in the East Village. I don't know if it's true or not, but Dao Hoa's personality towards girls is unmistakable. Okay, I'll accept the quality depends on your attitude. Yes, thank you. If there's anything I'm missing or if you don't know, just tell me straight away. Let be clear, after agreeing on the price, method and groundbreaking date, he left before leaving. He deliberately slapped his hand on Nahung's hip and looked back, said to relax, if you understand what I mean. I won't let you suffer. Hearing the words and actions that touched my body, Nung already understood what was going on, but due to the situation and her identity, she had to happily accept it and she also wanted to fall. Annie maintaining the initial firepower, he simply agreed to help her in this village. No matter how many work crews refused her because they simply knew that after the construction was finished, she would not have the money to pay wages and did not know when. So a few days later, her house started to be built due to the demolition of old house, so Nahung had to send her 2 children grandmother's house while she lived temporarily in a shack to look after the materials and supplies. Taking care of project, he takes on many projects at once, but always shows up at her house, not to be part of the construction team but to let Dong talk Nung. Just like that, he finishes work in the afternoon. I found an excuse to stay and chat with Nahung, sometimes the excuse of having to stay to finish see how the crew did today, sometimes with the excuse of me staying here. Later there's a team over there building, so I'll run over. To keep up with him, Nahung already implicitly understood what he wanted, but she couldn't do anything but look at his expression and attitude, which was like a cat looking for fat, and she understood immediately every time Nung moved. Around the construction site, he watched without blinking. Every time Nung walked around the construction site, he followed without blinking. His narrow eyes kept close to this married woman. He knew that Nung didn't have one. The concern of a man who has been separated from her husband for a long time and has been lonely, so his head is always filled with dark thoughts but also feels uncomfortable. Up to now, she has never had any bad reputation in the village. Although her husband works far away, she only stays at home and doesn't interact with strange men. He finds all kinds of excuses to approach her, understanding her economic weakness and difficulty. He swept the blanket as hard he could today. Also, when the construction workers returned, he shied away and looked at her. He smiled meaningfully. I'll stay and play with you today. Is there anything I can cook for to eat at this time? I'm so hungry. There's nothing to eat at my house. But if you're willing to stay, I'll just go to the market buy a few things. I'll just do it for a bit. Just sit and play for a bit, then I'll go home. Will it be okay in a few days? Can you give me some money? Yes, let me advance you a few million. I'll transfer some of the money to materials department, but I haven't received the state support money yet. What can I do with a few million? Hey, I'm just trying to help you because it's difficult for me to ask. At this time, he almost said his purpose blankly. As he spoke, he walked closer to her and sat close to my hand. I couldn't sit still, his eyes just kept staring at Nung's body. She timidly answered yes. What do you mean? I don't understand what you say. Well, if help me or not, it's all up to me. It doesn't matter me, the important thing is whether you satisfy my wishes or not. You just keep flirting like this. How can I sit still? His mouth is talking. Hands are not at peace. He reaches out and touches me. At Nung's waist, she also understood that he wanted to sleep with her, but how could it be so unreasonable? But this old contractor suddenly suggested that idea, so she politely refused. Yes, brother, I told you to leave. Anyway, she's also a married girl, she's in the neighborhood below. If she sees it, it won't be a good thing. Please go home. It's okay, I'll figure it out and report back to you later. But saying that made him very angry, but how could he do anything else? He had to stand up, dust his ass, and go home with the attitude of let's learn Korean. I'll give you a few more days. If you don't give me enough money, we'll abandon the project, it's up to you. Let's just say that after he left, Nung would go take a shower and then to her grandmother's house visit her child. It had been a few days since she seen child. She remembered that Teepa's house was so dirty. So Nung built a temporary bathroom out of a few pieces. Tarpaulin for temporary use few months while building a house and I was taking bath, a black head stuck inside and I was startled. Oh my god, who is it? It's me, Hung. I forgot the cutter, so I went back to get it until I can do tomorrow. What was the construction project in the village above doing that made her so startled? But she quickly pulled her shirt to cover mother's body and stammered. You're making me so scared. Next time, please make a sound to let me know I'm taking a shower. But you can't get in. Well, you set it up temporarily. Did know that she was taking a shower? I thought she washing something. Thought she was cooking for me. I didn't mean it. His mouth said it, but his eyes just stuck in one place, and then he said this, remember his offer, if you accept it, then you won't have to bear the debt. But I see that he's getting more and more unreasonable knowing this nonsense of his so hire someone. Although Nung was very upset about this, at night when she slept she thought a lot about his proposal. After this house she still had to pay debt up to SBC million. If her family was as poor this it would be a shame. Who gave her family the debt? She raised a herd of pigs, but she had to sell them quickly because of the epidemic. Now she couldn't expect anything. If she slept with him, he would probably relax her grandmother, but who knows, he might. How about giving yourself some boots? It's been a long time, but we haven't closed during the day. His work so hard. It's like night falls. Every time I think about it, I miss it. After all, I'm still new. At 30, she's so beautiful, and her husband keeps neglecting her like this. How can she stand a woman at such a young age and her husband hasn't come back for nearly 3 years? If you keep holding like this, you'll probably go crazy. Even though you're naturally gentle and professional, due to the situation, you're already shaken. She clicks your tongue. Or, should I just sleep with him once and see how I can sleep with him? Who knows, maybe we can get both benefits. Maybe have to take a risk. The next day, like every other day, he stayed behind when all the workers had left, using the excuse of staying to pay owner house, so as not to be embarrassing everyone because the homeowner is a single woman and the contractor stays all day to flirt. So the neighbors also have doubts about understanding what he means and his eyes look like they want to devour her. Today, Nung is wearing a floral pajamas with silver flowers on the shoulders. Even though outfit is wrinkled, it's quite eye-catching compared to the guys, but I think it's a bit difficult for me to speak up. Just leave him alone like this. Do whatever you want. Nung was crouching in the shack, picking up scrap metal that was scattered on the floor. He walked in. He slapped her hard on the butt. She was stunned. The landlady kept thinking like this. What should we do? If I can't stand this guy, he's so ungrateful. If he keeps like this, no one will dare to hire him again. He's smiling like he's struck gold. Wow, those ladies who need to build something so badly have to call this guy. So the landlady has thought carefully and still can't please this guy. But Nung shyly replied, who would bother to go home and take a shower? I'm full of sweat. The smell sweat is horrible. I'll clean it with water and rice. Come here and say whatever you want, understand Nung's intention. He agreed to my proposal. He was so happy and smiling that the whole village could hear. So let me go home and take a bath first. You can rest assured, sir. It's okay, I won't take any money for the time being. Later, when I have it, I'll give it to you. If I don't, then just leave it there. After I finished talking, the owner walked away, whistling as he walked, showing that was very happy to hear him say that, but I felt less worried. Just a little happy, the burden of raising money to pay the workers has been reduced. But today is another day when a few men pop candy, making her visibly excited. Nung was lying down in the torn tent for a while when he walked in. He was wearing only shorts and a tank top during the day. He was wearing construction clothes which looked boring. But instead of wearing this outfit, it looked good and polite. He went inside and undressed. What did the landlady spray that smells so good? Wow, what's going on inside? This guy doesn't wear proper clothes when he comes here and dresses like that. It's not a good thing for people to see. Leave them alone. Before he could finish his sentence, Hung jumped up on the bed and wrapped his arms around Nung's waist. This guy was already so excited. Let me go and look to see if there's anyone. I didn't have to look anywhere. I just noticed it. No one spoke and didn't wait for Hung to answer. He rushed in, hugged her deeply, kissed her, and his rough hand wouldn't leave her alone. Nung couldn't hold it anymore. It had been a long time since she'd been there. I'm a bit of man, so today when strange guy comes to visit me, I can only be weak and just lie still and enjoy it, but he's like a hungry tiger with his strength as a worker, but I can only think of her husband. It's true that she hasn't. Going to the market, ran out of money, completely different from him. At this moment she was really confused and couldn't think much. Her human instincts took over. She rushed at him like a moth to keep him going. But despite the torment, she originally thought that she would be able to satisfy that matter and save money, so she stopped clicking her tongue. It's no wonder the two of them were exercising so intensely that the temporary wall was almost exposed. He whispered and asked, "Do you like to pamper me this every day?" She answered weakly, "Yes, I like it, but remember that you have to create the conditions for me to sleep with you. If you don't help me, I'll come to your house and get angry. Just leave it alone. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you, maybe it's been a long time, but I just feel this passionate. The way he's doing things is completely different from her husband. It's enough to know how tired she is." After so many days of longing, today Eun-hung was satisfied. She couldn't have thought there were so many good men out there. "The driver grabbed his body and my husband hasn't come back for a long time. Just give it to me free." He didn't pay any attention to what she said. The noises became louder, and that he had to take the shirt to give her shoot. So after many days he took possession. The landlady was just like he had done many times to other widows after the matter was finished. He stood up and turned on the small light bulb. But before she could get dressed, she quickly saw the light coming on. Pulling shirt to cover his body, looking at Nung under the electric light, he admired that had never met a girl with 2 children as beautiful you. "When I turned on the light, I saw that your figure was quite beautiful. I'll do this again soon. Deduct the money for her, put her clothes back on, and say that. Except, how about deducting?" He smiled softly and walked towards her to tidy up hair like this quickly. "Every time it's 1 million to make me happy, I will." It would be great to defer the debt, but hearing those words seemed reasonable. So she didn't react. 1 million is equal to a few days of her work. Not only did she get money, but she was also satisfied. So, anyway, it's not better. Then the days passed, and every day he was in the mood, they would go out together and do things, some days at the tent. Some days they would take them behind the pile of straw in corner garden. Some days they would pull together as far away the pond since the day they slept with him. She became addicted again. Every day she wore thin clothes, her shirt was all the way down and she kept moving around making him feel uncomfortable. In the past he thought she was prey, but now the prey is him. The fights became more and intense. It had been a long time, but he was the one who took initiative. One day his 2 children came over, thinking that if there were children at home, they wouldn't dare do anything, but she still pulled each other into the house. To do it once, she would have to go around and work again, but when she calculated it, she had already earned more than 20 million. The house fee was more than 40 million, but she had already earned half of it, and the other half she tried to complete in no time. In the future, looking at Eun-hung's appearance now, she may not have any money, but will accept it. Looking at her, she knows how much Nung is in love with him. Her attitude is no longer shy or reluctant. Now, there is only a face full of desire and thirst. Last month, her entire house was completed. The relationship between the landlady and the contractor was raised to a new level. They officially went back and forth to see each other. The debt was gone. It was mentioned again. The village up and down below also started talking about this. Mrs. Men's daughter-in-law is with the old contractor V. It's true that women are also promiscuous, no less. Who at first thought was not a good and gentle person. Be patient and work hard, but in the end, they are also type of cats that the chickens agree with. It's just a shame the husband goes to work and doesn't know that his wife stays at home and gives her a few horns, right? Mrs. Men, your mother-in-law heard people talk about it with her own ears. My blood boiled and I wanted to go the 3 sides and say a word to see what you meant. One day when I was washing rice, my grandmother came over here, MS. Nung. Your house has already been put away. Is there a lot of it? Yes, it must be more than 100 million. But where did you get it? I earned so much money to feed my children and have enough money a big house. I heard people say that they didn't let my mother-in-law finish the sentence. She interrupted me. Whatever people say, don't believe me. I know it, but Mom, go home. I'm busy feeding the children and studying. Since the day she returned to Hung, she has completely forgotten that a husband, even though he has nothing to do with her. But after all, they are husband and wife. Because she couldn't be caught in the act, Mrs. Men had to swallow the bitterness and go home, but when she got home, was so angry that called her son. He came home and saw that his wife was at the other house. It was rumored that she at home. I'm hanging around with the contractor X that house. Don't go home and see how your wife is doing so people can talk about me. It's so annoying that I won't be able to survive. My husband and I are old. Please go home and teach your wife. Today is Sunday. The 2 children went outside to play. It's still raining and windy. I just texted Hung. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Or maybe there's someone else lately, so I'm not hungry anymore. He immediately replied, here, wait for me a moment, I'm cleaning the project over here. I'll come over with you too. My love. I miss you so much too. Waiting for to receive his message, she looked happy. She planned to cook something delicious so that tonight when he comes over after doing that, we can have dinner together, but people are not as good God. How did her husband catch the bus from Main Foundation to go Doi Village? As for Hung, as soon as he came over, rushed to hug her, my dear, I miss you so much. Haven't come over for a long time. People don't text me. They don't care. That's why I say I miss you. Come on, have to understand. Thank you, I'm busy with a lot of projects, or with any lady. Nung said with a sulky voice. I don't have any lady to serve me alone. But that's enough for me. I just need you. That's all said, but saw a flower blooming in my heart. She rubbed at him like a crazy person. The 2 of them kept trying to get married on the bed, but unexpectedly the door suddenly opened and her husband and mother-in-law were there. She 2 children rushed in. Their eyes were hot when they saw the nakedness of 2 of them on the bed. And she was embarrassed when saw everyone gathered here. She didn't need to be ashamed of her husband because I haven't considered you my wife for a long time, but I still have 2 children and your biological parents. Your husband wiped and beat you Hung at this time, but thought his lover would stay to protect him, but he didn't. Tried to escape, leaving her suffer her husband's beatings and the humiliation when her 2 children saw their mother being beaten. Her husband beat her, scolded her, and cursed the words worst. So much frustration, so much anger, feeling self-pity at this moment, she raised her voice to ask him if he considered me his wife or not. He had been away at sea for so many years that his children even forgot father's face. When he went to work, he sent it back my mother and me. Is there any money, or should I stay at home and take care of the family and children? Do you know how much my mother and I have suffered? Her husband didn't even say anything, he just beat her in the house. The growth of anger when the children saw their father beating mother, they rushed to hug their mother. Dad, please don't hit my mother anymore. Your biological parents should go into the room now. Anyway, the 2 children are here. If you have anything, just close the door and tell each other to have children. Don't do that after night. Her husband wrote a divorce petition and she signed it right away because she couldn't live with a husband like that anymore. Even if she loved her, just loved her. Her 2 children. Her parents divorced, so the children had to suffer. That land and house originally belonged to her, so after the divorce, she and her 2 children stayed together. But the situation in countryside was said. She said it, but when she went out on the street, couldn't even lift her face to look at the people in Exum. She knew she was wrong because in that difficult situation and because of a moment weakness, she ended up in the hands of another man. Since the day she was captured by her husband in battle, he has never bothered to come to her house anymore. Since then, he has lived a meager life, raising 2 children during the day, working in fields, then returning to the chicken flock at home to raise his children. From now on, she only hopes that her 2 children can grow up and become human beings. Then, she will feel satisfied. The mistakes that have passed will be left in the past. Now she will try to raise her children truly. Good. Everything gradually faded into oblivion. The villagers no longer mentioned the past. The price she had to pay was too expensive, but she never once regretted it, because she could once live with pleasure. The feeling of a woman who lives for herself. She quietly sat and looked at the bamboo tree behind the house. The afternoon sunlight had also faded away. Her eyes still contained so much desire and happiness. This is the end. You and your friends must have had moments of relaxation after a tiring day of work. Hello, and see you again in the next stories.